Hi, welcome to White Threads FlossTube number 39. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you haven't been here before, the sorts of things that you can expect to find on this channel are stitch demonstrations and technique demonstrations. I talk about embroidery in general. I show examples of embroidery that I have made and also vintage and historical examples. And sometimes I do product reviews of embroidery products. Today what I'm going to be doing is a flick through of each of my books. I know that some of you are finding it difficult to get my books, and it's difficult to know if you want to buy a book sight unseen. So what I thought I'd do is give you a sight of each of those books. So I'm going to flick through the pages. You won't get to see every page. Some of them go past quite quickly, and some of them, they get stuck together when you're flicking through. So you won't get to see every page, but it'll give you a really good idea of what's in the book. I will also talk about the features of the book, whether it's got left-handed instructions or whether it's got just right, and all those sorts of things, so that you get a really good idea of what you're going to be getting. You might be a shop owner who is wondering about whether you should sell my books. Hopefully this will give you a really good idea that of course they'd be the perfect things to sell to your customers. So sit back and enjoy. Thanks very much. Smøyg, Pattern Darning from Norway by Yvette Stanton has 104 full colour pages and a pattern sheet. There are many pages of historical examples. Smøyg, or as it should be more correctly pronounced, Smøyg, is pattern darning. Pattern darning makes it sound quite complicated, but actually it's just running stitch. It isn't difficult. There are 13 beautiful projects. Mary Corbett, in her review on needleandthread.com, said, Smøyg, a traditional technique hailing from Norway, is sure to appeal to needleworkers around the globe who love historical techniques, folk embroidery, colourful stitchery and counted work. As always, Yvette's approach to instruction is clear, concise and easy to follow, making the array of gorgeous projects in this latest volume accessible to beginners and beyond. Beautiful techniques, great history, fun projects and thorough instruction. What more could any stitcher want? There is an extensive step-by-step stitch instructions chapter with both left and right-handed instructions. In the back of the book there's an appendix which shows many different types of threads on the different fabric counts, so that if you don't have the same thread that I specify, you can adapt with one that you can get. Mountmellick Embroidery Inspired by Nature by Yvette Stanton and Prue Scott has 104 full colour pages and 2 pattern sheets. At the beginning of the book there is historical and cultural information, context for the embroidery and historical examples. There are clear step-by-step right-handed instructions for the stitches and the knitted fringes. This is the only book to include step-by-step instructions for the most authentic knitted fringe found on most historical examples. There are 17 projects, some with traditional applications such as a nightdress case and a pillow sham, and others with more contemporary applications. Stitch with the Embroiderers Guild magazine from the UK said of this book, "There are very few books about the Mountmellick technique, but this one provides the perfect introduction. Worked in a wide range of interesting stitches such as cable plait stitch, long-armed feather stitch, Mountmellick stitch and palestrina stitch, the stitches are clearly shown and there are easy to follow step-by-step instructions for the embroideries. Each project is graded from beginner to intermediate to advanced level, and the accompanying outline designs packaged in the back of the book are actual size, so you won't have to enlarge them before use. There are also clear instructions for creating the knitted fringes that are such a feature of this technique." The Right-Handed Embroiderer's Companion, a step-by-step stitch dictionary by Yvette Stanton, has 160 full-colour pages. There are over 170 embroidery stitches and their variations shown in step-by-step instructions with clear diagrams. There are photos of each finished stitch so that you can see exactly what it should look like. There are also vibrant inspiration photos for each stitch to show you creative ways to use them. This book only has right-handed instructions. We have a separate stitch dictionary, the Left-Handed Embroiderer's Companion for left-handers. However, for each stitch, there is one diagram showing the left-handed version, so if you're right-handed teaching a left-hander, you'll know what to do to change it for them. Felicia said of this book, "Best book ever for learning stitches. Illustrations simple and clear. I have many other books of this type and this one is indeed the best." Ukrainian drawn thread embroidery Merezhka Poltavska by Yvette Stanton is a small book with just 48 pages. However, they are jam-packed. There are historical examples in the front of the book. There are 2 learning samplers and 7 beautiful projects. This book is unusual in that it shows all of the step-by-steps with both a diagram and a photograph, making it very clear. SD said of this book, "This is one of the best illustrated books I've ever seen. All the stitches and all the diagrams are shown with both an illustration and a photo. I've never seen anyone do that before and I have to say it's very effective and makes each stitch quite clear." Portuguese Whitework, Bullion Embroidery from Guimarães by Yvette Stanton is 104 full-colour pages long. It also has 2 pattern sheets. This style of embroidery, from the town of Guimarães in the north of Portugal, is a mix of both drawn thread work and surface embroidery, with many bullions and lots of eyelets. This book has 10 gorgeous projects. There are clear step-by-step right-handed instructions for each of the stitches, whether drawn thread work or surface embroidery. If you're scared of bullion stitch, then this is actually the perfect book for you because it teaches you a method of doing bullions that many find highly successful, and you'll get lots of practice. Mary Corbett of needleandthread.com says, "Portuguese Whitework is an hospitable book. Yvette welcomes you to the world of Guimarães embroidery, and then through her clear diagrams and comprehensive instruction, she makes you feel right at home with it. A lovely, lovely book by an excellent teacher." Elegant Hardanger Embroidery, a step-by-step manual for beginners to advanced by Yvette Stanton, has 64 pages. There are step-by-step stitch instructions for each of the stitches, including buttonhole edge and lacy Hardanger edge. These are not included in my other Hardanger book. The instructions are right-handed only. There are 15 beautiful projects in the book. The Embroiderers Guild of New South Wales magazine said, "This carefully written book provides a clear guide to the elegant cutwork embroidery of Hardanger. The patient and methodical approach demanded by this style of embroidery is clearly reflected by the author's meticulous explanation of the techniques involved. The author very clearly explains the correct approach, even illustrating what the back of the work should look like if you have been stitching correctly. Ms. Stanton also gives tips on how to fix mistakes, including how to replace a thread cut in error." Left-Handed Embroiderer's Companion, a step-by-step stitch dictionary by Yvette Stanton, has 160 full colour pages. There are over 170 embroidery stitches and their variations shown in step-by-step instructions with clear diagrams. There are photos of each finished stitch so that you can see exactly what it should look like. There are also vibrant inspiration photos for each stitch to show you creative ways to use them. This book only has left-handed instructions. We have a separate stitch dictionary, the Right-Handed Embroiderer's Companion for right-handers. However, for each stitch, there is one diagram showing the right-handed version. So if you're a left-hander teaching a right-hander, you'll know what to do to change it for them. WS had this to say about the book. Other embroidery books might have a section for left-handers, but usually only basic stitches are presented. This book is a treasure trove of stitches that we left-handed stitchers can now learn to do the correct way. It is the best embroidery book that I own. The steps are all pictured clearly and are easy to follow. Thank you, Yvette Stanton, for recognising the need and creating this embroiderer's Bible. Early Style Hardanger, Traditional Norwegian Whitework Embroidery by Yvette Stanton has 160 full colour pages and 3 pattern sheets. In the first section of the book, there are many photographs of historical pieces of embroidery, and there's a comparison between historical works and contemporary works to help you understand the difference. The Projects chapter has 10 beautiful projects which help you to explore the traditional style of Hardanger embroidery. The stitch instructions include both left and right-handed step-by-step instructions. In this section of the book, there are stitches that you probably won't have seen before, stitches that were part of the old style Hardanger embroidery but have fallen out of contemporary usage. Sue said, "I've been waiting eagerly for Yvette Stanton's new book, Early Style Hardanger, since I first read about it as a work in progress on her blog, White Threads. It sounded right up my street, firmly focused on the traditional Norwegian whitework technique rather than any modern interpretations. I'm delighted to say that the book lives up to my expectations. It's a substantial paperback, neat layout, enticing photographs, clear typography, copious step-by-step diagrams and charts. If I had to sum up the contents in one word, it would be thorough. It's one of the most in-depth, single-subject embroidery books that I have seen." Sardinian Knotted Embroidery Whitework from Teulada by Yvette Stanton has 104 full colour pages and 2 pattern sheets. At the beginning of the book, there is historical and cultural information, context for the embroidery, and historical examples. In the Projects chapter, there are 11 beautiful projects. This style of whitework embroidery, called Punt'e, comes from the town of Teulada in Sardinia. It features tiny little knots worked on the surface of the fabric. There is an extensive step-by-step stitch instructions chapter with both left and right-handed instructions. Janine Robertson of the Italian Needlework blog says, "Grab your passport and explore this embroidery without fear, as Yvette is with you every step of the way. She has anticipated your doubts and worries and addresses them all to give you the confidence to complete every exquisite project in this book, making it an extremely enjoyable embroidery trip." Thank you so much for taking the time to watch that with me today. I hope that it's been helpful to you. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me to ask. I'm always happy to answer questions. So thank you so much for joining me again today, and I'll see you next time. Bye.